Hey everyone, hope you're doing well. Listen, we have got to have a conversation. I got a little time. So, question: who is like the biggest welfare recipient? Some people may think, oh, the ladies on this screen, that's who they are. That's right, baby mothers, single mothers. Yeah, wrong. Let's talk about who is the biggest welfare recipient. They've got these videos, they're cutting the Section 8, cutting the SNAP. But what about corporate welfare? Okay, so how much is spent on, let's say, this? You can Google it. Okay, so I Googled this information. How much is spent on Section 8 housing? $67 billion a year. This was in 2023. $67 billion. Okay, okay. $67 billion spent on housing. Gotcha. Well, how much was spent on food stamps, on the SNAP program, the Supplemental Nutritious Program, SNAP, the EBT card? $112.8 billion. $112.8 billion. So let's do the math. We've got $67 billion spent on Section 8 housing. That's a whole lot of money, to house people. We've got $112.8 billion spent on food stamps. So 67, 112. Who's the biggest welfare recipient? Dun, 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 the corporate. Now, not necessarily this man here, but corporate welfare. And that's why I picked the picture. The ones that they fly in jets, what have you. $181 billion annually is spent on corporate welfare. Again, the math. $67 billion spent on Section 8 housing, $112.8 billion spent on food stamps so people can, eat. Last time I checked, 181 is more than 112.8. $181 billion annually is spent on corporate welfare. It says the federal government spends around $181 billion annually on corporate welfare. Google it. This includes direct subsidies, direct payment, indirect support like research funding and subsidies for government-owned businesses like Amtrak. Some reports put the figure higher, reaching $230 billion. Some reports are estimating $230 billion on corporate welfare. Direct subsidies, what is that? Grants. You don't pay grants back. Grants, loans, and other direct payments to businesses. Really now? So people got it mixed up. They think, oh yeah, that's the problem is I let government spending. But what about the corporate welfare? The corporate welfare, there's more of that being spent than housing, vouchers, and food. Now, as I understand, that's to grow the economy. Where are the jobs? Because if the corporations are still getting all this money and they're still firing people, looks like the rich is getting richer. Where did the money go, bro? And the poor getting poorer. Again, some want you to think, they're the biggest recipients of the Section 8. No, of welfare. No. The guy that has a business flying the jet, what they say, he's the one. And this here is just a picture. So if you're like, I know that guy, that's so-and-so, well, good for you. I'm not saying him in particular. Remember AIG when that bailout came, and how did they get there? By private jets? Really, most of us fly coach. If I'm in first class, it's because of my stepdaughter with a boarding pass, with a buddy pass. But they came in not coach. Remember AIG and the bailout? They came in not coach. They came in not first class. They came in what? Private jet. Wow. But guess what? They got bailed out. Private jet. Who's the main one? The big corporate guy. Probably the one in the Armani suit. Probably the one that has multiple houses. What's the big deal? The system is rigged. If you are inputting between $181 billion into corporate America, and some saying the figure is higher, reaching $230 billion, you already know the system is rigged. Because guess what? The one who gets the funding, that's the one that gets to play and see their dream. Let's give it a shot. These are your tax dollars. So who is the biggest welfare recipient? Let me tell you, unless you don't know math, it's not these ladies on the screen. It's not people from the BC. Don't even try it. People say, well, they should be able, and I understand self-accountability. I totally get it. But here's my deal. Here is my deal. If we can be accountable for ourselves as we should be, what about the big companies? Show what you got. That's why under Trump, the one thing I do like, the stock market is not where I want it to be, but one thing I will say under Trump, almost anybody can get it. The farmers are crying. Yeah, the non-melanated farmers are crying, not melanated. You're going to have to make do. Like the black farmers, you got to make do what you got. This system is what? Definitely rigged. Politics is about resources. Life is about resources. It's not about giving it away in the club. Hey, and all of that. Yeah. Who are the biggest recipients of welfare? Corporations, the ones who are flying on private jets. Look at the money spent. $181 billion, some reporting up to $230 billion spent on what? Corporate welfare. Well, I'm like this here. If you are so talented, you shouldn't need that much help. See, the system, in my opinion, is rigged because it's going to provide funding. They're not like us small people. We have to pretty much use our own resources, get turned down from the bank. But no, corporate welfare, that's the biggest welfare hustler of them all. The biggest one of all. The one that you don't see. The one that might be sitting on the island in West Palm Beach. I'm just saying. And I love WPB. Who is the biggest welfare hustler, in my opinion, based on the numbers, corporate welfare? Imagine what regular people could do, maybe get a chance to follow their dreams if they were given an influx of cash. Not everybody can, but somebody can. But corporate welfare, big businesses. Again, I wasn't necessarily a fan of Kevin O'Leary from that show, Shark Tank, but I definitely became a fan when I realized, wow, this guy is talking about the small business owners and the fact that they're not being supported. Oh my God, that's when I jumped on the Kevin O'Leary bus because guess what? Nobody else I could find was really addressing that issue. Again, as I said before, if the small businesses are the biggest employers of American people, they were needing help. They were basically being let to drown. There was no funding for them. What does that tell you? The handwriting is on the wall. They don't care about the American people. That's my sentiment. They don't care. So if the small businesses are not getting the funding that they need, who's getting the money? Big companies are. Big Wall Street. If the small business owners aren't getting the money that they need, the small companies, the small businesses are the biggest employer of the American people. If they're not getting the funding that they need, who do you think is getting this funding? Maybe a company like doing when they did the bailout, AIG, all those big guys showed up and needing help. And don't forget too, if you recall in those hearings, they were reportedly given like their, letting the little worker bee go, but given like the managers, oh, you get a $4 million parachute package. You get $1 million. Oh, really? Gotcha. Duly noted. The system is what? In my opinion, believe what you want. I say rigged. Totally rigged, guys. Totally rigged. So we want accountability for people. Let's talk about the biggest welfare recipient on the planet. The numbers don't lie. $181 billion annually. Some reports suggest $230 billion corporate welfare. Wow, really now? Really now? And don't forget, yes, the tax breaks. Wow. Unbelievable. So, yeah, the biggest welfare recipient is not these ladies from my community, okay? It's not the American citizen. Corporate welfare. One more time in closing, let me know what you think. $67 billion spent on Section 8 housing. I must say this was in 2023, but $67 billion spent on Section 8 housing. $112.8 billion spent on food stamps. $181 billion annually, up to some say $230 billion spent on what? Corporate welfare. Corporate welfare. That is, who do you think own these companies? It's not a whole lot of us, people from my community. Rich people, non-melanated. The system is rigged. Who's getting the resources? Who's getting the contracts? Unbelievable. So yeah, we talk about the truth and accountability. If they're so smart and so talented, let's say you do it on your own without the government subsidies. If you're so smart and so talented, let's say you go ahead and raise the money and do it on your own. But the little guy can't get any help. I get you. I totally get it. And you think 2 years for someone who's on the program, again, people make decisions. They have different backgrounds, you know. Listen to something, it made me think about things, how a person grew up. I grew up totally different. My dad grew up poor, but he tried to give us the best he could. That's why we had summers when I was 15 and around. We had summers in Malibu, Monterey, Beverly Hills. I'm just saying, because my dad grew up poor, but he wanted us to have nice things and travel. Malibu, Monterey, oh yeah, a lot of fun. Going to the beach, just travel. He liked, I saw circumstance and I was like, wow, a person, and my parents are just middle class, but I saw circumstance and I was like, wow, this person has a life growing up in a very rough, and it was in a public housing unit. Both parents on drugs. Nobody, no other family member came from the suburbs to pick them up. And I looked at that and I had to stop my thinking. That's why that person chose to. What else was there? They chose the streets. What else was there? And I think about it. What the hell would I have done? Hell, I don't know. I was so sheltered. But imagine someone, a teenager. What were they going to do? Go get a job? No one to turn but the streets, and you know what's out there. So now you got a person, and you think that's a bad person because they're selling, drugs and carrying a gun. How the hell does a 15-year-old navigate something like that? And how are they going to eat? That's the only way that person knew. So it made me think. I'm like, oh my God, that's a bad thing. But it's like, what was the person going to do? I guess maybe just lay there in their apartment and let everyone just die and starve to death. There are people, we all make choices, but there are some people, it's like, so nobody they can call? Nobody ever checked on them? They got other family that want to be bothered. And I thought about that. The path a person chose, what other choice was there? And am I saying, oh, what they could have done? It's easy to say, but ain't no way in hell. Like I said, we were very sheltered. I come from my mom and dad taking care of us, providing for us, a middle class neighborhood. I would know how do you navigate that? And you wonder why people fall victim of things. What happened? The family home fell apart. I thought about it. So you're doing that. That person did that. That was the only way to survive. Makes me have to realize not to be so critical. You don't know what a person's story is. I didn't grow up that way, thank God, because how do you navigate that? Well, you have to have a weapon because you can't be selling that with with mace. Hey, you better pay me, dude, and pull my mace out and mace you. What you gonna do? Or you might be right. I'm gonna call the police and say what? That you're selling illegal substance. Yeah, that's really gonna work out well for you. And I looked at that and I thought, man, person never had a chance. Interesting. Maybe if someone came along and invested in it, would be a different outcome. But yeah, let's talk about who's the biggest welfare recipient of them all. Looks like to me somebody looks like Brad. The biggest welfare recipient of them all. I'll rest my case. What do y'all think? Thanks for watching. Feel free to comment on people, and I always say, "Oh, this community," and they keep on having all these companies. And don't forget, they can get bank. They can don't forget too. They can also for the welfare recipients that's getting this here, the corporate welfare. Don't forget, they can also do all these kind of loans. They're very slick. Do all these kind of loans and get a loan from the company, and then what happened? Forgive the loan. Well, you know what that means. Forgive the loan. That's like somebody forgive a student loan, or you don't owe anymore. They can pull all kind of little slick willy moves, and guess what? It's legal. So yeah, who's the biggest welfare recipient of them all? The one that's getting $181 billion up to $230 billion. Corporate welfare. How you like those apples? And I'm out.